Help us reach 1 million subscribers and win $100,000. Welcome to our exciting giveaway. Here's your chance to win $100,000. All you have to do is watch our videos in full, like them, comment on them, and subscribe to Luxurious Prestigious. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any future giveaways. With just a few clicks of your mouse or taps of your finger, you'll be entered into the draw for a chance to win $100,000. So what are you waiting for? Start watching and liking it now. A prisoner of war, Ferruccio Lamborghini. He created a small garage and changed military vehicles into field tractors when he got back to Italy. His prompt business decision made him a billionaire and subsequently, the most well-known premium sports automobile on the market was created, Lamborghini. All of it began when Enzo Ferrari informed him that he was simply a farmer. Early years. Ferruccio was born in 1916 on a farm in the northern Italian village of Revuelto. His parents raised children and made a living by growing grapes for wine in their vineyards. They instructed him to put in the effort and have the motivation to produce high-quality goods. Ferruccio learned from their mistakes, but not in the way they had intended or anticipated. Instead of learning how to run the farm, he was more concerned with mending their tractors. Aside from being disappointing, leaving the family business was viewed as dangerous. Ferruccio nonetheless decided to pursue his interest and enrolled in the Fratelli Taddia Technical Institute to study mechanics. Ferruccio never looked back after graduating, much to his father's dismay. Beginning his instruction, a great blacksmith revealed all of his knowledge and hints for welding and ironwork. Though he had his sights set on Cavaliere Righe in Bologna, a significant factory, it wasn't enough to impress them. The firm was at the time responsible for vehicle maintenance for the Italian army. Ferruccio, who was headstrong and obstinate, persisted and persuaded the business owner to engage him. He left and went back to Revuelto, where he was born after he turned 18. He established a workshop there with his close buddy, Marino Filippini. Years later, he would learn that it represented the beginning of establishing an empire by pursuing his interest. But first, he would have to get away from his captors. Second World War. Ferruccio was uprooted from his carefree existence when the Second World War broke out. He was hired as a mechanic at the Carson and Rose Island, Greece, after being drafted by the Royal Italian Air Force. Italy gave up after 3 years. After that, the German troops seized control of the garrison and drove the Italians out. Ferruccio made the decision to remain and requested authorization to start his own workshop. The Allied forces arrived 2 years later. Ferruccio was included in the list of detainees they took from the garrison. When they realized his technical prowess, they persuaded him to work on repairing their cars. They gave him permission to leave a year later. The early years Ferruccio spent at home were everything but happy. Clelia, his wife, passed away as Tonino, their only child, was being born. Ferruccio then kept himself occupied by working on tractors, lorries, and other pre-war automobiles in his workshop. But his life's trajectory was altered one day by a last-minute request from his father. The plea from Ferruccio's father was, "I need a new tractor." Ferruccio had a realization at that moment. It was imperative for Italy to expand its agricultural production to rehabilitate after the war. To do that, however, required better machinery. Ferruccio purchased surplus military equipment and utilized it to create new tractors. He had expertise dealing with both Allied and Axis vehicles. They were created using a vintage British Morris engine that was altered to an expensive diesel as opposed to pricey petroleum. They were touted as being more inventive and reasonably priced than anything previously seen. Later, Ferruccio founded Lamborghini Tractors as a new business. He required additional money for production, even if there was a market for his tractors. His father, therefore, used his land as security for a loan. Ferruccio and his father's gamble paid off in more ways than they could have ever anticipated. The danger. Shortly after the business rose to become one of the biggest manufacturers, similar in Italy, with delicious food, exquisite wine, and fast cars, Ferruccio celebrated his achievement. He even began to amass a collection of Ferraris, Maseratis, Mercedes, and Jaguars. But none of them fully placated him. He was especially dissatisfied with his Ferrari 250 GT, since the clutch would constantly fail. He once brought his Ferrari to his technician for maintenance. Ferruccio found that the clutch was the same as the other one installed on one of his tractors. He was upset about this because the clutch cost him 10 euros. He bought a component for his tractor from Ferrari for 1,000 euros. Later, he made the decision to inform Enzo Ferrari of the flaws. He discovered it in his automobiles. The clutches were thought to be too noisy and rough on the road, and they also required frequent repairs. Ferruccio was dismissed by Enzo, who argued that he was the cause of the issue rather than the vehicle. "You are a farmer and a tractor driver. Don't whine about my cars, please." "Yes, I'm a farmer, but I'll show you how a sports car should be. They are the best in the world." Ferruccio left work that day, prepared to demonstrate his abilities. His triumph was derided as insane, and many people thought he would raise his wealth. Ferruccio persisted nonetheless, launching a brand new business in his name. In order to construct a plant, he acquired a sizable piece of land and employed 3 of Ferrari's former employees. Ferruccio finished the first of his sports cars in under 9 months. The Lamborghini 350 GT is emblazoned with its astrological sign. It was a 4-wheel independent suspension vehicle with a V12 engine, 5-speed transmission, and 4-wheel disc brakes, and was regarded as a technical masterpiece. During the Turin Motor Show, it made its debut with accolades from both customers and detractors. Ferruccio demonstrated to Enzo and his skeptics that he was more than simply a farmer, and that he also possessed the mechanical prowess necessary to create superior automobiles. It was a smart vehicle with a lot of style and ease of use. The triumph. The following several years will see Ferruccio's tractor and sports automobile industries grow. Ferruccio granted his engineers complete creative leeway when it came to creating new models. His crew was able to complete the 400 GT and a covered project, the Miura P400, thanks to his management approach. It was the first vehicle in history to be created as a street racer, and it was engineered using a rear mid configuration. Due to his opposition to the idea of creating race cars, Ferruccio was not told about it. He participated in an elite race a number of years ago and collided with the wall of a dining establishment. Ferruccio made the decision to stick with the plan when he learned the news. One of his better judgments in life ended up being that one. The Miura gained notoriety as the first supercar in the world. Especially its real all-high-performance automobiles now come standard with a mid-engine layout. From that point forward, Lamborghini Trattori kept up its winning ways and introduced several well-known models, including the Espada, Esliro, Harama, the Countach, and the Urraco. Since they didn't use any other people's parts, they were thought to be superior to other sports vehicles. And the Countach was allegedly the subject of the most hysterical auto literature. Unfortunately, a string of uncontrollable events caused Ferruccio's prosperity to come to an abrupt end. Following a coup, a contract to provide 5,000 tractors to Bolivia was cancelled. As a result of the setback, Ferruccio was obliged to sell his tractor business and 51% of the shares of Automobili Lamborghini. Later, there was a spectacular drop in the world stock market, and an oil embargo was imposed by OPEC. It resulted in higher fuel prices and plunged the car sector into a crisis. We are aware that the gasoline scarcity being discussed in Washington is having an impact on jobs across the board, not just in Maryland. Ferruccio worked hard to keep his companies afloat and was successful in finding purchasers for his unsold tractors. Nevertheless, he made the decision to leave his job early and sold the remaining 49% of his automobile Lamborghini stack. He did, however, give his son Tonino ownership of the heating business he still held. Later, Tonino made a turn toward creating a flourishing fashion and luxury company under the family name. While everything was going on, Automobile Lamborghini's new owners tried but were unable to revitalize its brand. The business was then compelled into liquidation. The Italian government eventually sold it for $3 million after a few years to two billionaires from France. New engineers would be hired and the outdated Lamborghini facilities would be renovated. However, they ran out of cash and sold the business to Chrysler. To bring the brand to the United States, Chrysler created plans but did not turn a profit. They consequently sold the business to an Indonesian corporation. Despite having better sales luck, it wasn't enough to survive the Asian financial crisis. When Audi acquired the business, it became clear that operations and product quality needed to be given more focus. The problems were overcome by Lamborghini under their direction and reclaimed its position in the marketplace in the 21st century. Sales increased everywhere, particularly in the United States, after the Gallardo, Huracan, and Urus SUV concepts were unveiled. 2019 saw record sales for Lamborghini, which has an estimated value of $11 billion. This is the tale of how a farmer and a former prisoner of war built a sports car empire out of his tractor company. Absolutely inspiring. Would you like to hear more motivational stories like this? From a small farmer, a former prisoner of war, to today's most successful leaders? Leave your comment down below and we'll be pleased to give you more encouraging videos. Please remember to subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.